All right, next level podcast listeners, we're back, and this time joined by my buddy and local Phoenix, Phoenician, or Scottsdalean, whatever you want to call it, and more importantly, Raider fan, Jereme Kleven. Jereme, how's it going, buddy?
Doing good, man. Thank you for having me. I love it.
Dude, my pleasure. I'm glad I could finally flip the script on you. I've had the chance to be on your podcast, The Daily Dose, a number of times, but this is the first time I've had the chance to flip it around on you, so I'm excited to do this.
It feels a little weird, but I'm going to go with it. I'm used to being the interviewer and not necessarily always the interviewee, man, but let's mix it up.
Yeah, man. So let's hit it. So obviously, as you and I, the other thing you and I have in common are obviously being the smarter and better looking business partner in a duo. So tell me about your business partner first, because since he's not here to defend himself, tell me a little bit about your business partner and your overall business. And then I kind of want to go back into some of the history. I want people to kind of know who you are and sort of what you do in modern, today, 2019, 2020.
That's classic, man. The smarter, better looking partner of the duo. That's classic. I would tell that to Mark if he was here right now as well. No, I'm just playing. Yeah, man. I mean, Mark is a great partner. We talk about this a lot. And again, like you said, I do have a podcast, A Daily Dose. And the last couple of days, actually, on our podcast, we were kind of diving in on this very subject, the power of a great partner, right? Of a great partnership. And a lot of people, you see so many people go into business with folks, and it either doesn't last long or they're just not in sync, right? And I've been incredibly fortunate, and I hope Mark can say the same in all seriousness, to have a partner that really shares the same principles. You don't know, when we got into business together, I was 21, he was 20. And you don't know the type of human being that you're going to be, without dating myself, 19, 20 years later here, and same thing for him, right? Like, we've changed, we've evolved, we've grown, for better, maybe for worse too. But, the principles are the same, right? Are the foundation of what brought us together. We started as best friends, and I'd like to still think that we are best friends, but, what holds us together still strong, tried and true is an amazing business, and the foundation in the belief system, the principles, and really, sharing the same vision of what we're ultimately trying to achieve. And I think that's been one of the things I'm super grateful for.
Yeah, man, I think that's so important. And in myself, having a business partner like you, longstanding, someone I'm close with, having that shared vision is, I think, so important. And you and I could probably do a whole podcast just on that,
Yeah.
On partnerships and whatnot, and what it takes to make those work in the long run. But tell us a little bit about your business. So you guys co-own together a brokerage here in the Phoenix, not just in the Phoenix area, but started here, called My Home Group. Tell us a little bit about My Home Group, and I'd love for our listeners to kind of hear how you got started, man, because it's such an inspiring story.
Definitely, man. I appreciate that. I still get a lot of people this day like, oh man, you guys have exploded, or like you guys are seeming like this overnight success, and there's all these common cliches out there about how long we've been grinding in blood, sweat, and tears. And we actually started the brokerage in 2005, and we were with some other national brands and people, folks around the brokerages that are around the country. And we always had that entrepreneurial instinct even at a young age, and we wanted to do something of our own. And but we really just started a brokerage to have a team, or really we were a team that was in the form of a brokerage, and so we were in production, for many, many years, from 2005 to maybe 12, 13, even into 14, maybe, that we were still, into production, because we had to kind of do whatever it took to get by. But for many years there, I was the designated broker on the real estate side. Mark was actually the mortgage broker. We had a mortgage operation as well, which for a while was our bigger business. We knew so many agents, and we were doing a lot of loans for many, many years. And had a whole platform, and the way that all changed, in the downturn, et cetera. We ended up shifting gears and getting out of the mortgage side and on strictly, into the real estate side. But like I said, we were in production, but we had our brokerage. It was actually in 2012 where thankfully, for some reason, we were smart enough and or lucky enough maybe to have the vision and or the understanding to recognize that we were through the worst of it, and that it wasn't going to get any worse. And what would happen if we made a push and decided to try to create a platform of value and abundance and education and training and being current. We've always looked at ourselves in the trenches side by side with our agents. What if we created a platform and went out there and tried to grow and spent a couple bucks on a back office and some marketing materials and recruiting and the whole 9 yards in trying to attract, I should say. And that's really what we did. And we put the pedal down in 2012 to try to do just that. And like I said, we recognize a lot of people were still a little close to the vest at that time. And we're I don't want to say scared, but we're just cautious, right? And we just went gangbusters. And I say gangbusters. I think we brought on 37 agents, the first year of 2012. And, we're bringing on 100 plus agents, a month now. So it's crazy how it's grown. So.
All right, hold up a second. Okay, so here we are. We're recording this November of 2020. This will probably be released sometime between now and the end of the year. Give me what's the My Home? Let's start with Arizona. Like, what's the agent count approximately in Arizona for your brokerage, My Home Group?
So we're about 2,100 agents or so in Phoenix Metro or in the state of Arizona, and then about 2,600 or so across 9 states or 8 additional states.
Dude, first of all, that's solid. I love how, it definitely looks like an overnight sensation, but luckily I've known you for a few years and I knew that's never the case anyways.
Yeah.
And so I love that because I know you've been grinding for a while.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So, cause people can go, oh man, 100 people a month are adding, and in Arizona alone, they're over 2,000, 2,100. Those are really big kind of like gaudy numbers. But the reality is, like you said, that's, 7+ years now of actually focusing on that one thing of growing that platform. So was it 2012 when you guys finally said, hey, you know what, this isn't just about our team and the mortgage business. Like, let's go grow this brokerage and make this a viable business.
Yeah, that was just it. We wanted to, create a platform where agents could run, operate, and control and have the autonomy and freedom to run their own business. We really wanted to change the industry. We always had it in our heart, our head, heart, and soul, or whatever you might say, is that, to lead with abundance. The industry was good to us. I mean, obviously there was the downturn years, but ultimately, all in all, this industry has been great to us. It's afforded us an incredible lifestyle. So, I think just as two human beings, we have big hearts and we care about people, and we wanted to pay that forward. And so we wanted to create a platform that led with abundance, led with education and training and shortening the learning curve for agents to come in and build, amazing businesses. So that's really what we set out to do, is kind of switch to, flip the industry on its side, so to speak, in terms of leading with that value and opening up the playbook. I mean, I remember when I first got into the business in 2001, and it's like you would look around, you'd seek for help. Granted, there wasn't the YouTubes and there wasn't the, the training platforms everywhere you look, but we'd be looking to our broker, we'd be looking to the team leader sitting across the room and, try to reach out for help. And everybody was so close to the vest. Everyone was kind of, in competition for each other. And we just kind of took the stance of like, what if we just provided everything to everyone? And right. And we all, one of our favorite lines around here is, who wants to get it, right? It's the folks out there, it's people like you, it's the people out there around the industry. They're like, hey, look, I'm going to get it, right? As long as I can have the tools and the resources. And for the newer agents, a brokerage that can help shorten that learning curve for me. And then I'm going to go out and do the work and make it happen. So that was really what we set out to do, in 2012. And like I said, it started slow. People didn't know who the heck we were. Maybe they still don't know who the heck we are, right? I don't think we have the full attention of the consumers, even in this marketplace, this Phoenix Metro marketplace, which is obviously one of the most competitive marketplaces in the country, if not the most competitive marketplace in the country. I don't think we have the full attention of the consumers. I'd like to believe at least that we have the attention of the real estate community. I think that everyone, for the most part, knows who we are and hopefully knows what we stand for, or opportunities like this for people to hear a little bit more about us, and so.
Anybody not sleepwalking in Arizona for sure has at least got a little taste of what you guys are doing, man. And it's quite frankly, it's some cool stuff. So, okay. But those are really big numbers. I just got to go back and wrap my head around this. So 2,100 agents or so in Arizona. I think you said 2,600 or so outside of Arizona, the other, I think 9 states.
Right.
Dude, I got to ask, like, it's one thing to just grow an independent brokerage here in one state, and to even let it get
Right.
as big as you let it get big, because the 2100 is big. It's got to
Yeah.
put you in the top 5 in Arizona, right? I don't even know, but it's got to put
Three.
you in the top 5.
I think 3 or 4 potentially, because we kind of waver back and forth with another one that's real close to us. But number 3 in production
Yeah,
for
dude.
Arizona.
I mean, you guys are enormous.
Yeah.
And so, okay, but like, when did you decide to go outside of Arizona? And it seems like there's been even more of that recently. I mean, the 2,600 number to me, that was actually a surprise. I didn't realize it was gotten that big outside of Arizona. I knew you were doing well. Tell me about that expansion. When did you guys decide to do that? Why did you decide to do that? And man, what have you learned from that? Like, and maybe we got to slow down and cut those questions up, but
Yeah.
I'll let you have at it.
Hey, that's that obviously has been a tremendous grind, and when to make that decision, to expand and go across state lines. And I think that's probably a cliche to say, but we've always kind of believed in people. We have had the principle, in our, again, back to our head, heart, and soul, we've had the principle that businesses don't grow themselves. You grow people, then the people grow the business, right? So we have adopted that, where we've had that be a part of us since day one. And as we've gone into other marketplaces, it's really been through leaders. It's been through leadership and good people that want to be a part of what we're doing. So that's what's led us into the outside 8 states. The other states we're in is good people that want to take that. And we're just constantly trying to build and refine the back end, so to speak, right, of operations, and continue to be more efficient and more automated and more systematic. And that's an ongoing grind. I don't think we'll never be like, okay, we're done, right? Like, and it just most, it's not going to happen. But yeah, I mean, fundamentally, we have believed in people and tried to create, again, a platform that people can make a marketplace their own, and have the opportunity to build out a marketplace just like we've done here in Phoenix Metro, that can really be their own. So it's really been through talent, through people.
Let me ask you this, man. And I feel like I know the answer, but I'd like to hear it in your words. And I think maybe some of our listeners would be curious about this too. Like, the first time you had the opportunity to go outside of your home base, right? You had to be scared, like that or were you and Mark, did you guys just go, screw it, let's do it, let's find out? Or was there like, gosh, man, I don't know, like, should we do this? Can we handle that stress test? Like, what was that thought process like for you?
So it came to us, right? A gal came to us who was based in Washington and said, hey, look, I like what you guys are doing. I want to take this to Washington. We said, hell yeah, let's go to Washington. You know what I mean? Like, all right, so that's kind of how it's been, but again, it's a sensitive situation. And we've actually changed our stance on this a little bit too. You asked me this same question a year ago. I have a different answer. And a year ago, I would have said something like, I would have puffed on my chest and I would have said, hey, look, we want to be in every marketplace in the entire country. And right, I may have roared a time or two, you know what I mean? But now it's different, right? We really, like I said, we really believe in people. So we want to go deeper in the right marketplaces, and so there's a lot of marketplaces in the country where the barrier of entry is a little bit lower. The cost of doing business is a little lower. The ease of doing business, right, is better or easier than some other marketplaces around the country where it's higher cost or more difficult or more regulations or hoops or whatever the case may be. So, we're more focused now on going deeper and getting more traction in the right marketplaces around the country versus being in every marketplace around the country. So I think that's a fine line where people, again, want to grow and they want to cross state lines. Again, I get it, but I think that obviously having to be cautious and doing it the right way. And, for us too, it's like, Phoenix is home base. This is where it started. This is where we live. This is our backyard. And this is where we're at, right? And so we've always looked at our agents like our partners. We're on the ground here. We have an open door, so to speak. We're still conducting masterminds and teaching classes, and we're a part of everything we do. Now we're just trying to get a further reach in a shorter amount of time, taking what we're doing here and really trying to take that around the country without necessarily being physically present in every single one of those marketplaces. But again, man, this is a sensitive issue. Like I said, you want to of course do it the right way versus just going big, right?
Yeah, this is the difference of being what I would refer to it, because I'm a big baseball fan, of being Greg Maddux and not Randy Johnson, right? You're like finessing things and being really careful and strategic about the way things happen, as opposed to just, white knuckling it, pushing your way, through it. Once you get out, spread out as far as you guys are, um, you realize it's a different game. So let me ask you this. So you mentioned like you had a different answer a year ago. Um, but what is it that is maybe different for you, or what's been like the biggest lesson you've learned since you've expanded outside of Arizona, that maybe either you just didn't expect, or just was like a hard lesson to learn, but now it's kind of helped shape, a lot of your growth and your success and where you guys are going?
I think we all think we're ready for the most part when we pull the trigger on something, right? We're like, oh, we're ready, man. We got this. It's going to be like it was here, or we expect a certain thing. I think sometimes, and I think every marketplace is so different. If you even look at the state of Arizona, we're talking one state out of the entire country. You go outside of Phoenix Metro, it's a wildly different landscape. And I'm not just talking about the actual landscape. I'm talking about the people, the way they operate, think, the way their business starts. Crazy, right? Seattle is another, we're in Washington State. You go into Seattle and it's one way. The minute you get outside of that city, oh my God, it's like you've traveled back in time. It's just a wildly different marketplace. And so, I think that there's definitely not this one size fits all type of an operation, how things are doing. And again, where we are, what we're doing and what we're building in the model, it is essentially a national brokerage, right? It's not a franchise. We're not, so we're running a national brokerage that's going to operate in these other states and these other marketplaces. So I think that the way of doing business, the way that we're accustomed to doing things, it's just different, right? And so I think finding that leadership that really takes that bull by the horns and does what it takes to get it done in that marketplace is going to continue to be that ongoing challenge, right?
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, like, that's an interesting, you just pointed something out, like the being a national brokerage versus a franchise system. This is just more out of my curiosity. Like, that had to be a major decision point for you guys.
Definitely.
Because you have a system, you guys have built something great here in Arizona. I'm certain you had the opportunity, and granted, I'm partially speculating here, so if I'm talking out of turn, feel free to say so, but I'm sure you had the opportunity to just go franchise the system versus like, no, let's go build it out ourselves, which obviously slows down growth, but it gives you a lot more control of, and makes sure it kind of feels more like it should at home everywhere else. Like, what was that decision process like, and why'd you choose that way?
No question, man. We've had people, and we all know the names, right, across the country that have approached us and tried to do A, B, and C, right? We wanted to keep that control. We wanted to keep the consistency in the brand and the people and the experience, for our agents, because I think that that's where a lot of these folks go wrong. I mean, there's a lot of other hurdles that I think are coming down the road, but that's probably for another podcast for a lot of these franchises. But again, it's just keeping that consistency and the experience, I think, is really what we're all about, And so, we were at a crossroads, or we were, faced with a decision to make on which direction that we would go. But like I said, we want to keep the power, and I don't mean for ourselves, but the power in the hands of the agents, the experience in their hands. And like I said, just keeping that consistency. And that's just, it's kind of really fueled that decision.
Yeah, that's cool. And let me ask you this, just because you've got a unique experience of running an agent team for quite some time. It's not like you got into real estate and then like a year later you went, you know what, I think I'd rather just own the brokerage and make my business that way. Like, you and Mark built a real business around sales and mortgage too. What advice would you give to your former self, knowing what you know now, this many years into being a brokerage owner across state lines? If you could go back to the guy that really just started a brokerage so he could run his team with more independence, if you will, what would you tell your younger self about the business?
I'll say I love this question. I get asked this question a lot. Like, what's the biggest mistake you made, or the biggest, thing that, the thing that you did wrong, or whatever it may be. And it's not necessarily the thing that we did wrong, or, the thing that we, swung and missed at, right. But what we didn't do soon enough or early enough was take the big swings, right? To grow any business, we all know, hitting the singles along the way, but you got to go for those home runs. And we just didn't do that. We were kind of, I don't know if we weren't, maybe we weren't, I don't know, maybe we weren't confident in necessarily what we were doing. We believed in what we were doing. We knew that we had value, and we knew we were building a platform that was going to be, special. But we just didn't take the big swings. And for broker owners out there, team leaders, we've all heard, hey, you're operating a business, right? You're a CEO, act like a CEO, even if you're a sales agent, right? But start taking those big swings early along. Start getting into business relationships with other big businesses, right? And obviously believe in yourself to be able to do so. But then go out and do it. Structure those big time business relationships. Try to attract top tier talent, surrounding yourselves with top tier individuals. That's what we would have done. We should have done earlier, is take those big swings.
So is that the advice you'd give to me? Like, let's just, most of our listeners are selling real estate, right? They may be independent brokerage owners or not, but most of us are, doing our thing, selling real estate, whether it's one person or a big team. Is that the same advice that you'd give to that person? Because you've obviously been in those shoes as well. In fact, I believe you probably still are to a certain extent. Like, what, does that translate to my business as a real estate agent, or maybe even as a loan officer, as it may turn out?
Yeah, 100%. Right. I mean, I think that there's a lot of people in production that don't feel necessarily worthy to go after that top tier client, or don't necessarily feel worthy or qualified to go after what I like to call a channel account, right? A channel account, meaning, a single source of business that has the opportunity to turn into however many transactions per year, or an LO, a loan officer, going out and trying to secure a relationship with that top agent in their marketplace. I think the people are hesitant to try to do that, right? Of course, nobody wants to fail, but you have to take swings. And so, yeah, that would be my advice, is to feel confident. I know a lot of people don't like the phrase. Some people can kind of take it or leave it with the whole fake it till you make it. And I happen to be more of a believer in that principle. And the way that I internalize that or understand that is that, look, I am the best. I believe in myself. I love the line from Muhammad Ali. I said I was the greatest even before I knew I was. And it's just a confidence, not arrogance, not cockiness, not being a whatever, right? It's just believing in yourself that you're the guy, you're the gal, that is worthy of being in relationship with these other elite individuals or these other elite business owners. And so walk accordingly, talk accordingly, act accordingly, and get into those relationships and feel confident and go for it. You got to take swings, right? I mean, again, to keep another cliche going, right? I mean, we miss 100% shots of this, or 100% of the shots we don't take. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're not going to even take those swings, you got a 0% chance. So I'd say yes. Just go for it.
Nice. So obviously, being around as many agents as you are, like, you've got your pulse on kind of what's going on. Phoenix is ground zero for anything real estate, anything real estate disruption. It's literally the wild, wild west here, right?
It is.
So, like, what's your advice or thoughts for agents in the future, man? Like, what are you telling your top people, or just even your average everyday agent that's in your brokerage going, Jereme, what the hell's going on around here? Like, what's it going to be like in a year or two? What should I be doing, or what should I be focused on? What are you saying to those people?
So I just mentioned one of them. One of the most important things for me, I think, as we go forward, are the business to business relationships, and I think that that's vital. I've been preaching channel accounts. I mean, probably since I had you on my podcast, which was, years ago was the first time I think I had you on. We've been talking about that and preaching that, but it's so true today. Of course, we're going to take on that individual buyer. We're going to take on that individual seller, an individual listing, right? But getting those relationship, a network or a business to business, again, as a business owner, that business to business relationship. And they're everywhere you look, right? From your accountant or CPA to your divorce attorney to your kid's classroom, right? I mean, there's potential channel accounts everywhere you look. We've all heard of the big ones with the REOs and the, the lenders out there across the country and things like that, but I'm not talking necessarily these really high-end elite channel accounts, so to speak. I'm talking about the everyday channel accounts. And I think it's just getting into those business relationships with other business owners and providing them a platform or some sort of a program that folks can associate with that has the opportunity to turn into a lot of transactions. And if you secure one or two of those, it could be another 10 or 20 transactions a year. And my God, that's a big deal.
Yep.
I think that as we go forward in this industry, it's going to be ever important to do more transactions in less time. So for all the agents out there, team leaders, broker owners, we've all heard systems, and it's like a dirty word, right? But the systems and processes to be able to do more transactions in less time. If there's downward pressure, and we know that there is, right? We're seeing that, obviously on commissions. But the transparency through transactions for the consumer, and then being able to do, like I said, more transactions in less time. I mean, it's just a couple things I think they're going to be more important than ever as we go forward.
Yeah, man, no doubt. Things are changing too. What do you, let me flip it back over to put on your, your brokerage owner hat, like, to use a cheesy question, like, what's the thing that keeps you up at night, if you will, as it pertains to the brokerage business? Like, what are the things that are maybe unknown or out of your control, or what are the things that you constantly think about, or it doesn't have to be constantly, but it's just the thing you think about most when it comes to potential pitfalls or you not being able to kind of fulfill what you and Mark have set out to do?
That net, that net number. I mean, and it probably is, I'm super grateful and very fortunate to have an incredible team around me, and so every podcast I go on or stage I speak on or whatever it may be, I mean, I can't applaud my team enough, because I happen to be obviously the owner and the one that's out here, doing these types of things, but they're the ones behind the scenes making this whole thing work and pushing it to the, pushing things to the finish line. So like that's, incredible, I'm just incredibly proud of them, but, it really truly is, if we're not looking at our net, if we're not running a profitable business, like it all starts with that, right? That's how I take care of more families, by employing more people. It's how I give people raises and give them more benefits and, continue to create a platform for agents to be able to grow, again, tremendous businesses, is by making sure that we're doing things, we're operating efficiently. And I think that this industry, we all are collectively guilty at that award, right? Of I have so much in sales, I did X amount in GCI. Well, like where are, the NCI awards at, right? Like are we showing each other our P&Ls? You know what I mean? And I don't think that we are, obviously. I know that we're not, but I just think that to me is like the most important, and good on you for the folks out there that are doing huge GCI numbers. But I just know that a lot of them are spending an ungodly amount of money to get there. And so it's like, how much are you spending? What's the operations look like? How many people are on staff? How efficient? How are the systems? And, for us, it's, to continue to answer your question in a very long-winded way, we've always tried to put the focus in managing the systems that manage the people. And by that, I mean, the agents and the operations, so I think systems is one of those things that keep me up at night, along with that net. Are we running a profitable business?
Yeah, no doubt. And that is, to be frank, like that is a big problem in our industry. I believe is everything that gets glorified is like a top line number. And I get it to a certain extent. In some cases, like it can be used to tell a story and to inspire. But I think what happens in our industry more often than not is it's a trophy and it's a badge of honor. And, so often it's not even a profitable thing. And so, the reality is that I think what's most important to me anyways, is that net, like when it comes down to the business, right? That first number doesn't matter. It's the last number that matters.
Yeah.
on that profit and loss statement. It's that last number there at the bottom, not the first one on the top. And so,
And another thing that's, yeah, go ahead. Sorry. I was going to say,
no,
yeah, before I don't know if you're going to kind of, spin into another question, but if like one more thing on that, and not that it keeps me up at night in a negative way, it keeps me up at night in more of a positive, constructive type of way. And that is just how do we continue to deliver more value, right? Every single Monday morning staff meeting, when we huddle everybody and throughout our meetings and what we're doing, I mean, we're constantly looking for ways to provide more value, to our agents, to our people. And, we are definitely above the ego and knowing and understanding the fact that we're nothing without our agents, And so if we're not growing personally, if we're not continuing to provide a platform, and continuing to provide more value to our agents, then we're going in the wrong direction. So that, again, not that it keeps me up in a negative way, it keeps me up in just a thought way of continuing to try to grow and get better.
Yeah, man. Well, I think even as an agent, like if you're not sitting around thinking about your own people on your staff, if you have a staff in that same way, and especially your buyers and sellers, like if you're not thinking about how do I keep bringing them value, like you're just not going to be in business. You just won't be in business in the future.
Definitely.
Some of us will have a longer runway than others, but you just won't be in business. Like I think everyone's got to ask that question, no matter what level of business that we're in.
In the experience, right? I think agents need to, again, when you ask this question, not that it's a negative thing, it should be a positive thing. What's keeping you up at night thinking about how you can continue to provide a higher level of experience for your consumers? Because, we all know what we're in the business. We don't sell homes, they sell themselves, right? Like we don't own the product. It's not our inventory, unless you actually are selling your own home. You know what I mean? It's not ours, right? So it's we're facilitating a process, we're facilitating a transaction, we're providing a level of experience and service, right? So how are you continuing to make that experience and that service better, top notch, 5-star, whatever you want to call it, right? So that's what I think the agents, folks out there need to be thinking about.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's got to be the thing that keeps us all up at night on some level. That's really the question we're constantly asking ourselves. Well, so let me ask you about this. So I'm curious, like what excites you the most about the future in our industry? Like, and it could be maybe specific to your business or just kind of overall the opportunities that you see in the real estate landscape in the coming years.
I'm excited about continuing to take our model, across the country and continuing to do just what I'm saying, providing a higher level of experience for agents and a platform for them to grow, tremendous businesses, because I don't believe that, and this isn't to just be a plug or for us. I mean, I just don't believe what we're doing has really been done and especially on a national scale. Again, we are in a marketplace with a particular model is very, very common, but not with the high level of service and more of an individualized, hands-on type of an approach. So that's what I think I'm most excited. I think there's so much opportunity. And, we all hear about the disruptors and we hear about this and we hear about that model and, everything else under the sun. But at the end of the day, it's about agents. It's about their businesses. And we've always recognized that. And, we're most excited to continue to take that platform around the entire country. Again, like I said, there's so much opportunity out there. We feel like we're just getting started.
That's awesome, man. Listen, dude, don't apologize for that, because if you didn't believe in your own model and your own vision to that extent, nobody would be with you, bro. So don't never apologize for that. You have to do that. If you didn't, I wouldn't want to interview you. Like we could still be friends. We could talk football, but we wouldn't talk business. That's for sure. So I mean, speaking of that, the other thing I think that I love about you most, man, is that you're also a fellow Oakland Raider fan.
Raider.
Yeah, baby. With that, like obviously we'll start winding down here in a moment. A little more personal, dude. Like what do you like to do in the free time? Like obviously watch the Raiders, and we're gonna have a nice little run here to end the season. I know that.
I hope you're right.
Firmly believe in. What's Jereme like to do for fun outside of the office?
You know what, man? I love, I should say, to enjoy life. I've lost friends early along in life. I've had that wake up call, and being that knowing that life is short and sweet. And so we got to enjoy the ride along the way. We definitely don't take ourselves too seriously. I wish we were curing cancer, but at the end of the day, we're not. And so like we can laugh at ourselves. We can make a fool out of ourselves, and best believe we enjoy life and have fun, man. And so, I like to get out in nature. I like to get out among people. I love the ocean. I wish I lived by the beach. Someday I'll kind of go back and forth a little bit more. I love the ocean. I was just there last weekend. I can't get enough. It fills my soul. And I love to just get among nature, up in the mountains, hike and, rivers, creeks, streams, lakes, the whole 9 yards. And I like to take care of myself too. I'm a big, personally, I've lost, when you talk about some health and fitness, personally, I've lost about 80 pounds. I used to be about 80 pounds heavier. And so now I love to get a workout in first thing in the morning. It just sets me right. And, lately, man, I know this is going to shock you right now, but I'm loving me some yoga lately, which is crazy.
That's awesome.
But, strength, balance, and mindfulness, and we all deal with a lot every single day. And it's with kids and sports and the business and multiple businesses and partnerships and everything else under the sun. It's just, obviously it can be a lot sometimes. And that for me is just a way to just clear out and shut it down and try to calm the mind, that's not exactly fun necessarily all the time, but like I said, I like to get with people. I like comedy. I like I said, I like laughing and having a good time. And I like to compete too. So I like some sports, playing ball.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, dude, I appreciate it. Last question for you. Top 3 pieces of advice for kicking more ass, man. So somebody comes to you, could be an agent in the brokerage, could just be a friend or family member, whatever. Someone says, hey, Jereme, I just want to do better in life and business overall. Like, what are your top 3 pieces of advice for that?
Before you can grow, before you can build a business, before you can do whatever really you're trying to achieve, I look back at what I did, what we did. And for us, we didn't even know that we were doing this, but we made a hard line in the sand decision, right? The decision, again, back to the head, heart, and soul. We made the decision in our head, heart, and soul. This is what we're going to do. We're not going to be stopped. We might waver. We might get off track, right? It's like the health and fitness and the diet. Like you might have a bad weekend, a blow up weekend or this and that, but like you get back on track if you're like really, truly, committed and focused. And that's the same thing we've done with business, right? Is we truly in our head, heart, and soul made that decision. I don't know that most people out there have done that, right? They want to be successful. They want to grow. They want to build their team. They want to grow their sales, but they're not wildly committed to it necessarily. And I'm not trying to, be negative. I think it's just, it's part of our society. We want quick results, the Amazon mentality. We want it to show up the next day. And I just think that it's not necessarily realistic. I think that there's no room for patience in business. Don't wait for anything, anytime, anywhere. There's no room for patience in business other than the time that it takes to actually build the business, in which case we do need to have patience. We do need to understand that it's going to take time. But understanding, again, making that decision that you're going to do it, you're not going to be stopped, not having any patience at all, that unwavering commitment. And I'm trying to think of like a third here for you to really take it to the next level. But well, let me mull on that one for a second.
No worries. Well, all right, dude. Jereme,
I got it actually.
No, hit us.
Off before you cut me off. I think that for the folks out there that aren't where they're trying to be right now, I think that you have to have a willingness to, when you talk about that patience to build a business, you have to have a willingness to potentially not make money for a while, and people, again, we don't have the patience to understand, look, I'm going to grind, I'm going to sacrifice. I think sacrifice is a huge word. People think sacrifice and they think that they have to give something up. And it's not necessarily the case. I mean, sacrificing something that you don't have, right? For a long time, for years, man, we went into the red for years to do this. People don't understand that. Like, oh, you have this crazy success, everything's cotton candy and linen sheets. And it's not the case. You know, we were in the red literally for years, and dipping into our savings, scratching, clawing, doing everything we could. And best believe it crosses your mind to give up. But it's back to that the idea that we believed in ourselves so much, so wholeheartedly, that we were willing to not make money for years, knowing that we will turn the corner. You know, it will turn the corner. It will happen. And I think a lot of people just give up, right? They just say, look, I'm not making the money that I thought I was going to make. A year goes by, 2 years go by, and they say, look, I'm just going to go take a position. I can make $100,000 a year. And then they just make $100,000 a year for the rest of their lives, and having that willingness to not make money, knowing that what you're doing is laying the foundation, is planting the seeds to grow in the future.
Yeah. Man, I don't know if it's ego or what that gets in the way, or just pure impatience. It's funny. I had the opportunity to interview Gary Vee recently. That's what he said.
Awesome.
He goes, dude, the business is the boss. That's it. The business is the boss. And if you want to grow something really big, the business is the boss. And I think you just said that as well in different terms. And it's so true. Going to grow something big, it's going to take some time, and you might have to be willing to not make any money at all, or at least not make as much money as we have the opportunity to make. Like, we're so blessed in real estate. We have the opportunity to have really great lives without even having to grow a huge business. So the minute we go to turn it into like a bigger business, it's a shell shock to a lot of people to realize, like, oh, hold on a second, I now got to make less money than I used to if I'm going to kind of really grow this thing. So absolutely, man, pure gold right there. Well, Jereme, thanks a lot, man. Where can people find you? Are you a big social media guy at all? Like, where should people look you up at?
Hey, man, we all got to be current and relevant, man. So, that's another concept, if you to grow, right? You got to be omni-channel, and being on the platforms where people expect you to be on, especially when you're dealing with clients, right? So, man, I'm on Facebook, Jereme Kleven. I don't know if you can put my name up here on the screen, Jereme, Jereme Kleven, Kleven. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram under the same way, or, hey, shoot me an email, jereme@myhomegroup.com.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll put all that in the show notes as well. I was going to say, Jereme, it's all ease. Yeah, no whys, all ease. So, all right, buddy. Well, Jereme Kleven, thanks a lot for being my guest today. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you again soon, my man.